Welcome back to Creating a Universe, where we're discussing the various elements that go into creating a believable and immersive world for your story. Today, we're going to be talking about creating immersive locations that add depth to your story rather than distract or take away from it. This topic is very similar, if not interchangeable, with the previous topic of the world itself, but now we're really starting to dig in and get specific with our details and descriptions. Detailed locations are an integral part of the world building process because, as you can imagine, they are the spaces that our characters are existing within. They are where the action takes place, and they can have a massive impact on the tone and atmosphere of your story and its setting. A dense world should be filled with towns, monuments, mountain ranges, forests, rivers, oceans, and other important landmarks, all of which serving the purpose of deepening your audience's experience as they spend their time exploring what you have made. One of the most important things to keep in mind when creating locations is to keep them consistent with the theme of the world that you have set up thus far. The last thing any writer wants is for their audience to be hit with a jarring theme change in a scene that rips them from the world and their experience. This means doing your research. Find what works best for you and stick to it. What kind of locations fit your world and your story, and try not to stray too far from those. That doesn't mean copy and paste the same repetitive locations everywhere your characters go. Research is just as important as all the other steps because you want to ensure that you're accurately portraying these locations, even if it's a totally fictional one. Doing that extra bit of work and getting that real-world detail in there can bring immeasurable depth to a scene. This will help create a sense of realism and believability in your world, and it will also create an engaging and immersive experience for your audience. Another key aspect of creating believable locations is to consider what effect the different cultures and societies would have on the look and feel of that place. For example, if you have a fantasy world where magic is common, there might be a wizard's tower located in the center of the city, or a magic academy in a rural area. Back to an example I used in a previous video of a village that uses a fox in its symbolism. Knowing the full reason for that backstory isn't necessary, but in my opinion, it just brings that much more depth to the location and subsequently the whole world when the author takes that little bit more time to squeeze in those details and flesh them out. Even if it's for nothing more than a few little references here and there as your characters pass through the town. Maybe there's an old legend of a widow with a newborn baby, and she was the first to settle in that area. But she grows ill and is unable to care for her child. While the widow is wrestling with her sickness in her small stick hut, a fox emerges from the forest and begins to care for her baby. Later, the widow recovers from her ailments and is able to care for her child again, and so the fox leaves. More people settle the area, and so the fox is woven into their banners to honor the noble animal. It's things like this that call back to history and mythology, akin to the story of Romulus and Remus, giving your locations history and mythology of their own. There are literally no limits other than your own imagination and how well you're able to portray these ideas. Finally, it's important to remember that your locations should serve a purpose in your story. They should be integral to the plot and development of your characters and should not just exist for the sake of it. Do the characters visit these locations to get a magical item or information, or are they simply passing through and they get ambushed, or one of the members of their party gets injured or lost? You want to consider why it's important that your audience experiences this place with your characters. By creating locations that are believable, consistent, and serve a purpose to your overall story, you'll also be creating a better and more engaging experience for your audience. And that's going to be it for this episode of Creating a Universe. And remember, when creating intriguing locations, the only limit is the one that you set on yourself. As always, if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be collecting questions throughout the series and answering as many as I can at the end. And remember, there are such things as stupid questions, but that does not mean that they should not be answered. If you found this helpful, give the video a like and consider subscribing. And as always, thank you guys so much for spending a small amount of your day with me, and I'll see you next time.